Namaste, beloveds. This is Mother with Wisdom, and this is a very important video right now. It's coming from some downloads that I've had recently, and just some other things that are going on. Mercury is in retrograde. There are so many other things that are taking place right now. The energy that is on the planet is very, I'll say iffy, because so many people are feeling so many different ways, and it's kind of hard to track it down to just one or two things, because there's so much going on right now. And lately I've been having to put up more shields. I've been having to just redirect myself, reground myself, and sleeping is hit or miss. And it's all because of the energies that are taking place right now. I apologize for the lighting on this video, but as long as you can hear me, that's the main thing. I went to sleep last night in the early hours of the morning, and when I woke up with a reasoning, an understanding, an understanding that I had not had previously before I went to sleep. And I'm going to share that with you today, and that's really what this video is all about. And I titled it From What Came Through. The art of division is to take away from the whole. The art of division. First, you need to understand or understand what that means. This is very much akin to the art of war, except this is the art of division. And no matter what culture or ethnicity that you come from, you are aware of the division. You are aware of a cosmology, of a beginning. And it was in that beginning that has been retold over and over and over in so many ways, with so many different patterns, with so many different things. But there's a constant in that, and that constant is division. There's always a division. And I was raised from the Christian point of view, although I am self-taught on many other points of views. And I have access to my Akashic records and to the wisdom of my ancestors and guides. And so, in saying that, I want to say this. We are the way we are right now because of the art of division, the working, the way this division works. We were taught that first battle took place in the heavens, and in that there was a separation in that battle, and that a third of the angels were removed from heaven or banished from heaven to the earthly planes. Because of this division, this 1/3 of the angels, led by one angel, caused a division. And that division has been replicating itself throughout time as we know it. It's been replicating itself in division, in wars, in a hierarchy of I am better than you, based upon whatever, based upon color of skin, based upon where somebody is born, based upon male or female. There are just so many different things that it's very tricky. It's very deceptive. But there is, beloveds, there is a constant, and that constant is mathematics. Mathematics is universal. It's like music. In this universal universe, one verse, one way, okay, one whole. In this one whole, division took place. And the division separated itself from the, I'm going to use what I did with my grandchildren. I told them about a pie. Nana made a pie, okay? Nana cuts that pie into slices or divisions. She gives you a piece. The pie, you have a piece of the pie. You don't have the whole pie. But the pie that you have came from the whole. It tastes just like it. It looks just like it. Everything that went into making that whole pie is in your slice of the pie. Now, I want you to think about this. Is your slice of the pie better than the whole pie that it came from? No. Is your slice of the pie less than the pie, the whole pie that it came from? No. Because it's still pie, and it's still part of that pie. That is the connection. And no matter how many ways you cut this pie, how many ways you divide it, how many ways you look at the darkness of this color of the crust and the lightness of this color of the crust, or how many berries or cherries got into this part of the pie and how many are in that part of the pie, it's still pie. It's still the whole is still represented in its parts. You can't say that because you slice this pie into pieces that this pie is no longer pie. It's something else now, something totally different, something less than, and it can never be berry pie again. Beloveds, I hope that's making sense to you because I want you to see what division is all about, and I want you to look at the amount of division that there is in the world. We have beings walking around here saying that they're reptilian, or they're mammalian, or they're human, or they're shapeshifters, or they're this, or they're that, or they're that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And you say, how does it not matter? It does not matter when you recognize who you are, that you are part of the whole, that you are part of the whole universe, that you, because you are a part of the whole universe, you have a sovereign beingness about yourself as an individual and as part of the whole. So as a slice of that pie, you are sovereign. As take that slice and put it back in there, part of that whole, that collective of all the slices, you are still a part of. You are never ever separate from. You are never different from. You are never less than. You are part of. One of the things, people come into our lives to teach us things. And we may think it's one thing that we're learning from them, but it turns out to be something totally, totally different. And I'm learning that. And I'm learning to just go with the flow of things and not be attached to what I think or what I feel, but to just go with it and see what it rewards me with, what I get from it. And this situation came about where, and I went to bed with this on my mind. We get so caught up in cliques, in sets, in ethnicities, in tribes, in clans, in I came from this land, my parents came from this land, this little spot of the earth. I am male, you are female, you are less than me because I am male. We have all these things that divide us. Religion, my God says this and your God says that, and my God is better than your God. Beloveds, the art of division is what is killing us. We are allowing the art of division, okay, to take the knowing, the self-knowing, the self-love away from us, to take our focus off of our own spirituality, to treat ourselves differently because of our spiritual selves, our spiritual beings, and the way our spiritual beings exist, the way our spiritual beings love, the way our spiritual beings think, the way our spiritual beings feel. One of the things that I think is so powerful in this, like I said, is going back to the powers and principalities that began all of this, and understanding that separation took place in that unit, and understanding that time repeats itself, as above, so below. Understanding that the universe that we are part of, there are planets, there is a sun, there is a moon, there are stars, there are asteroids, there are black holes. There is so much. Each of those things make up the whole. And yet, they are different. But the whole is inside of them. They could not exist without the whole. They could not exist without the universe. We have a lot to understand in that. How can I'm trying, okay, I'm just going to let things flow. I'm trying to direct this too much. And I have to let it flow the way it needs to flow. So, here we go. I'm going to read the title again. That's what I'm being told. Read the title again. The art of division is to take away from the whole. When you take away from the whole, take away is a subtraction term. It's also a division term. I want to look at this from a mathematical point of view, again, because mathematics is a universal language. When I learned how to do addition, I learned that you add two. That you add to something. And when you subtract, you take away from the whole. You take away from it. And when you divide, you have to have a whole before you can divide it. and then you divide it. What I'm getting at again is that the art of separation has us sliced in so many different fractions and fragments and pieces that we don't connect and we don't communicate. We think that I represent the United States. Okay, you represent the United States. What about it? The United States is better than all the rest of the countries and continents and blah, 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 blah. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. We need to understand, go back to the beginning. Go back to the whole. The whole is the universe. We are universal beings before we are anything else. Before we are male or female, we are universal beings. Before we are Black, Latino, Native American, Caucasian, Asian, and any other ones that I've left out, we are universal beings. Before we are Jehovah's Witnesses or Baptists or Catholics or Buddhists or atheists or Gnostics, we are universal beings. Before we are California, before we are the Congo, before we are Nigeria, before we are Ghana, before we are Wisconsin, before we are Paris, before we are France, before we are England, before we are Australia, before we are any of those things, we are of the universe. And being born in this human container that contains our universal spirit does not make us less than the universe that we originated from that whole, before the separations and before the divisions came about. We become so detached from knowing who we are and how we are all connected that we begin to hate each other. We begin to have to compete with each other. We begin to have to compare ourselves with each other. You came from the universe. What makes you what? You're a universal being. That's all I need to know. You represent a part of the universe, whether that part is light, dark, or in between. It's still part of the universe. When you separate light, dark, you're separating. You're causing a division. And in that division comes about the rendering and the reading and the measuring to see which one is more of the whole, which one portrays the whole the best, the most accurately. You both do. You all do. The universe is vast. You cannot limit yourself. When you say, I am a human being and I represent the United States, you are limiting yourself. When you say, this is my block, I represent this block, you are limiting yourself. Or all you can represent is a block. You made from universal materials. You are a sovereign being of the universe, but yet all you can represent is a block, is a city block. That's a speck of sand in the universal mind. Do you see how you've limited yourself? When you have access to everything that is of the universe, that is in the universe, and you have gotten yourself to this little speck. This is mine. I'm going to defend this little speck. This little speck is better than everything else and everybody else, and la 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 la. You missed the point. You have now created more of a separation from the universe. You are now infecting with your way of thinking and your way of reasoning. You are agreeing with and anchoring another thought of division. You're like this seed that has embedded itself. And you're this weed. And you cause division. And sooner or later, that beautiful universal paradise is going to be overran with weeds. It's going to be overran with a negativeness. It's going to be overran with doubt, with shame, with guilt. And those states of being spread themselves out and manifest themselves and express themselves in so many different ways. In so many different ways that this planet is populated by billions of people. But yet the majority of us feel alone. We feel alone in our ways of thinking. We feel alone in our ways of being. We feel alone in our way of loving. We feel alone in our needs. And why is that? It's because we have divided ourselves from the whole, from that universe, from that oneness that exists. And that oneness doesn't go anywhere. It's just there waiting for you to remember that you're part of it and act in accordance to that knowing and apply it to every single thing. That is why everything has a hierarchy. Everything has a line. Everything has roots. And you connect yourself to those roots. You may be a branch, but baby, that branch ain't nothing without its roots. It can't exist without its roots. There is a cohesiveness when it comes to love. Love is all inclusive. Love doesn't separate itself. Love doesn't divide itself. Love doesn't call itself light or dark. It's love. The universe is our source, our mother and our father, and we are the child of that universe. We are no less than our mother and our father. The only way we become less is to render them less, is to divide ourselves away from them, is to subtract our own essence from that essence, from that original essence. And that is being done. What was that? Like I said, my foundation is Christian. Okay? I use that word loosely, and not probably in the sense that you would use it or define it, because my identifying with that word Christian is the Christ consciousness, and that is a universal principle. It is not based upon one human man, okay? It is a universal principle. It is a Christ consciousness. It's a crown consciousness. It's a light consciousness. Okay, and from that consciousness comes my understanding of who I am and who I am connected to. And it's from this perspective, from this universal perspective, from this macrocosmic perspective, that I am learning to look at things, that I am learning to listen to things, that I'm learning to unlearn the things that have been taught to me. Things that have been taught to me about the color of my skin, my race. I'm a human being. I'm a universal being, living inside a human body, experiencing life as a human, with senses, with feelings, with thoughts, with needs. And with all of that, I have conditioned myself to suffer. Why? Because I have separated myself from my source. And I see myself less than my source. And in doing that, I've created this whole persona for my source. And my source is now full of human emotions and anger and doubt and jealousy and all of this. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Source is all. But when you create this separation, now you've had other things to be added to that original. You've allowed your free will to change the dynamics of the original universe that you came from, that you were a part of, not apart from, a part of. Another thing is that, beloveds, we can no longer not be present in our bodies, in our spirits, in our minds and thoughts, in our emotions. We have to consolidate that into a oneness of being. One of the things that came to me with this download was a hand. And the hand is mangled. It's mangled. It's been mangled. And it's no longer able to be used. But you look at this hand that was once whole, and that once could do everything that a hand is supposed to do. And your favorite part of that hand was always the pinky. You liked the pinky. I don't know why you liked it, but you liked it. And so all you work on, saving and reconditioning, is the pinky finger. Okay? That's all you identify with is the pinky. You don't identify with the rest of your hand. You don't identify with the palm. You don't identify with the fingers. You don't identify with the thumb. You don't identify with any of that. The nail, none of it. Just the pinky finger. And so you work and you work and you work and you work on this pinky finger, neglecting the rest of the mangled hand. What can you do? What can you do with this pinky? What can you do? Nothing. Because this pinky depends, its creation depends upon the rest of this hand. You need all of it. You need all of it. We need each other. We are not separate. The pinky is not better than the thumb. The right is not better than the left. It takes both working together. We have to be aware of the division, and we have to look at everything that allows division. Division of our thoughts, division in our hearts, division in our minds, and in our mind's eye. We have to understand why we look at certain people the way we look at them. And I'm going to bring the Willie Lynch letter up in this because it is the perfect replication of what division is and what division is about. We have a division now that we're calling the 1% and the 99%, the elite and the common people. There is so much around that is coming up at this time, and I did another video concerning Standing Rock, and that is to bring our awareness to division and how much we are divided and how much we need to unite, and that we are all from the same source and that we all have the same basic needs. Water. Water is a universal principle. Water is a universal conduit. So is spirit. When we take these things for granted, we allow division to come and set its own rules. And while it's setting these rules, to also set the rule of who we are, that we are less than the whole, that we are no longer universal beings with sovereign rights and divine will to make the choices that we want to make and to live the way we want to live and to represent the whole from which we come. We have to understand that yes, the individual is very important, is key to our evolution, because it is the individual that reconnects itself, or that is reborn back into the whole, and that is no longer divided against that whole or separate from that whole, but knows itself to be the universe, even if it's just a sliver, even if it's just a forkful. It is still part of that whole pie. It is still pie. You don't call it, oh, this is now Bob because it's separated from the pie. It's no longer pie, it's Bob. Common sense, beloveds. We have been twisted because we don't understand the most basic of things about ourselves. And right now, the word basic has been demonized. To be considered basic is to be considered less than. Let me tell you something, okay? If you don't have the basics, you ain't got nothing. So do you realize how stupid that sounds? Oh, that's a basic bitch right there. What, she basic because she can take care of what she needs to do. She maintains the basic things. She don't need all the trappings and all the ribbons and all the horns and all that. Do you realize how stupid we sound? All of this, like I said, I'm just starting to sit back and look at these things and to realize, some people call them in the Christian faith the Elohim. The Elohim caused division. Okay, the Asuras caused division. So many different teachings of who began the divisions. Okay? But where are the stories about what unites us? Where are the stories about the individual going back to the collective and bringing that collective forward, back into the awareness, back into the consciousness, back into perspective? There's just so much, beloveds, right now. I look at all the divisions, the teams, the games that are going on right now, and the football games that are Super Bowls, and all of these different things, and they are divisions. They're even, they're called divisions. What divisions do you play in? The NFL, the AFL, the blah, 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 blah. Okay? Division. We are houses divided against ourselves. We are individuals. Even in a family unit, you have division. And we're so used to that division that we don't all come and say, look, pinky finger, you need all of us. You need all of us. We have to begin to see each other. We have to begin to see the need that we have of each other. Each of us is a different representation. Each of us is a different expression, a different part of the essence, a different part of the pie, but pie nonetheless. We all have an affinity for certain things. That affinity does not have to make us different. It does not have to divide us. We just need to come to the understanding that individuals see things individually. But as a whole, we all have sight. We all can use our sight to see. We all have insight. We all know how to connect. Just think. Use nature to teach you. The universe itself, like I said before, is made of the sun, the moon, the stars, the asteroids, the planets. You can't just have the sun and the earth. How would the world be? How would Earth be if it only had the sun and did not have the moon? How would the Earth be if it only had the sun and didn't have Venus, didn't have Neptune, didn't have Mars, didn't have Pluto, didn't have Jupiter or Saturn? All of these things function differently, but they each are part of the universe. The one verse, the one thought, the original thought. They are the universe. You can't have one without the other. You can't have one and not be affected by the other. We are made of water. We need the moon. We are not separate from its energies. We are not unaffected by it. We are not unaffected by the rotation of the earth on its axis. It going one way and the universe going another way, and all of this, we are intertwined. The greatest gift given by the ancestors was the wisdom to know yourself intimately, to know yourself as part of the whole, to identify yourself as part of the whole. A grain of sand is a grain of sand, yes, but it is also a part of a beach. Do you see just one grain of sand all by itself, just bloop, that's it? No. You look at the whole beach, and most time you don't even see the sand individually. You don't see the grains of sand. But beloved, the universe sees the grains of sand. The universe is contained in each grain of sand. Did you hear what I just said? The universe itself is contained in a grain of sand. Macrocosmically, and microcosmically, individually and collectively, these are same terms. You can put these terms, the mother, the woman, not in all cases. This is a generalization, but it is it is what it is, damn it. The mother, the woman, sees things, expresses things, knows things, connects things on a macrocosmic level, meaning she sees all. She sees the big picture. She sees the four corners and the cardinals direct. She sees all of that. She knows, she's aware of it at all times. She doesn't just focus in on one little dot or one little grain of sand. She knows that when that tide comes, not only is it taking sand back, but it's also bringing sand back in. She knows that the microcosmic aspect is just as important as the macrocosmic aspect. That they are interwoven. They are not to be disconnected. They are not to be divided between each other. Because Both are needed to have the right vision. Your left eye, your right eye. You need them both. But did you know that the 2020, 2010, whatever, you still need to get them lined up and aligned in order to see right. And you see things microcosmically with your two eyes. And you see things macrocosmically with your third eye. Because your third eye sees not only the seen, but the unseen. It hears not only from the auditory, but it hears, not only hears from the auditory, but it hears from the vibrations and the frequencies that the physical ear cannot hear. There's a way of knowing with your heart and your soul and your spirit that connects with your senses, your sense of touch, your sense of taste, your sense of smell, your sense of sight and hearing. Beloveds, all of those are connected. To divide them is to take away, is to subtract, is to cause division in what was whole. I hope that you're receiving this the way I did. I hope that I am explaining it right. And I know that there will be many of you who will get this the way it's coming, and you can broaden it out and you can add the corners to it that it needs and everything else. And that's how the universe works. This right here, this is not about me. These words are coming out of my mouth, but they're coming down through me from the universe for everyone who can get the frequency of it. No matter if somebody else puts it in another language, no matter if somebody else adds to it, no matter if somebody else takes away from it, it is whole. It was given whole. And there will be some who won't get the whole message. They'll only get what was added or taken from it. And there will be others who ask for the revelations of the whole, and they'll get the whole. And that whole will speak to them from just an aspect. But beloveds, it's that way because you're open to receive. You know how divided you are, and that you were born into this division, and that this division has been going on for centuries, for aeons, since the beginning that we had our beginning. These differences have existed, have been put into place. And we see ourselves as lesser beings because what? We've been told that we sin. We've been told that we die and that's it. We've been told that to live is to struggle. To be a woman is to be a victim. Anytime you let another tell you your worth and who you are, they are limiting you. They are telling you you're not part of the universe, that you're different, that you didn't come from the whole. You can't, because you're different. You're less than. Your little slice of pie ain't lined up. It's not in a perfect triangle. So, you know, uh-uh. Or because you're berry, this is cherry, and this is apple. Which one is better? They should compete against each other. Everything that is in that berry pie, everything that is in that apple pie, everything that is in that cherry pie is all universal. Universal elements. One is not better than the other. No matter what your preference is. You might not even like pie at all. That's your will speaking. You were given free will. That's your will to say, I prefer berry pie, triple berry pie, blackberries, raspberries, cherries, strawberries, to just plain old apple pie or plain old cherry pie. It's your will that says, I don't like pie at all. I never have. It's not a part of me. I'm not a person that eats pie. I don't have to eat pie. People that eat pie are different. Because this is the reasoning. This is the reasoning of the human being that does not know itself as part of the universe, as a universal being. It identifies itself only as a slice, not a part of the whole. When we say that God made the world, we are children of God. But we don't call ourselves gods or godlings or goddesses. We still call ourselves human beings, sinners, less than. You speak it. You give it birth. You give it foundation. You weave that until to separate it and remember that you are part of the universe becomes so hard to do. Because so many lies and so much division and so many excuses and so many isms are now a part of your way of knowing and identifying yourself. I look at the wars that are going on. That is division. We call them Syrians. We call them Pakistanis. We call them this and we call them that. I have not yet heard anyone call them universal beings or human beings. I have not yet seen it click in our minds that that baby that washed up on the shore was a universal being. It was a part of us. Not apart from us. It was no different than how we ourselves began. It is no different from the children that we give birth to ourselves. How many more babies must we see washing up on shores, blown to pieces, sitting there next to their dead parents, with their parents' blood all over them, or the mama and her child's blood all over her, before we realize universe. We are universal beings. We are part of the same. No matter if you claim Sirius, or you claim Pluto, or you claim Jupiter, or you claim the morning star or the evening star. Universal. Okay? You're part of the universe, the one song, the one way of being. You have separated yourself from that. And the way to get back to that is to understand and accept that all the little slices of pie is a part of you. They're part of the whole. One is not better than the other. Again, the Willie Lynch manifesto states and stipulates what you need to do to create a slave. Okay? And not just a black slave, but to enslave the mind. And Willie Lynch didn't only enslave those who were slaves, but he enslaved the masters as well, with the same rhetoric, with the same bullshit. Only one benefited and one did not, when you look at it from material ways. Okay? But when you look at it from a spiritual way, I want you to understand that strength is gained through self-knowledge and self-awareness. Just as you put a division there, you have to get rid of that division. I'm a universal being. I'm not here to share my revelations or my understandings or my downloads with just the black race and no other race. I'm not here just to teach, or I don't want to use the word teach, I'll say educate or promote education to my own children. But I'm here for your children too, because I understand that your children are my children too. And your children, if I don't teach them, they will influence my children to not to know who they are. You see? So, unity comes about with the recognition, all for one and one for all. Or as Martin Luther King said, an injustice against one is an injustice against all. You cannot just stand up for your set, your clique, your race, your pinky finger, and not worry about the rest of the hand. That's ass backwards. And you get all this division and you maintain this division because you're creating more division. You're siding with division and not with unity, not with the universe. You're saying that the slice is less than the pie. The slice is no longer a part of the pie. The slice is now Bob. And then you want to blame the person that cut the pie. Well, so-and-so and so made me do it because he made me into a slice. I was part of the whole, but now I'm a slice. And I'm less than. Or I'm better than the whole damn pie. I don't know what you thought. I'm a single slice. You still over there connected in pieces. Common, basic sense and principles, foundation, unconditional love. The universe made the dark side of the moon and the bright side of the moon. Okay? The universe made the northern hemisphere as well as the southern hemisphere and everything that grows in between. The universe is collective and it is individual all at once. And many of us can't wrap our minds around that. But we should. We should strive to wrap our minds around it, beloveds, because it's crucial. Right now, it is so crucial. It is crucial to the continuation of the evolutionary process. It is the next phase. Paradise is a state of mind. That's a whole state of mind. Paradise is an undivided state of mind. Hell is a divided state of mind. We create our own hells. We believe that we are less than because somebody doesn't see us, or somebody doesn't recognize us, or if somebody prefers someone else. Beloveds, we are universal beings. Parts of us are simply more vibrate. Let me get this straight. Everything is vibration, okay? And we recognize similar vibrations. We recognize the multiverse in others. We recognize the connection with others. Some more than others. Some, we don't like their vibration because it's so different. And that causes distance between us, between the unity, between the sight, okay? That cross that you bear is your sight and your insight. And you sacrifice your being to your sight, your inward sight. There's so far that we have to go, but we have to get on the same page. We have to get on the same page. That same page is that we are universal beings. We need to dispense with the humans. Okay? That word, human. We are beings. We are universal beings. All of us did not originate from this earthly planet, this Mother Earth. She is our mother because we have been planted here. But we came from different systems, even different galaxies maybe, but one universe. We have to get back. More of us need to awaken back and reconnect and be reborn again with the wisdom, with the understanding, with that macrocosmic way of knowing that is inclusive. The microcosmic way fits inside the macrocosmic way. You can't have one without the other. They don't exist that way. They exist in unison. Only we have put ourselves, like I said, on these crosses. And those crosses lead to death. We used to know ourselves as part of the universe. The indigenous ones, the most ancient of our ancestors, taught us this. They taught us you must look to the heavens to know yourself. Which planets influence you most because of the dates that you were born upon? Which house are you in? When a retrograde happens, what influences you? What goes on with you? Can you step back and look at the world and see the world going through this retrograde? See it looking back upon itself, upon its own reflection. I've said before that the Egyptian, where you see the horns and you see this round disc inside those horns, that round disc is a mirror. I've said that before. And you need to look into that. You need to Google it. You need to look into what that means. To always carry that is your crown, that mirror. To always be self-reflecting. That's why people say selfies now. Understand why selfies exist the way they exist in this moment in time. It's to help you see yourself. Help you see each nuance of yourself. See each aspect of yourself. People become more or less because of their selfies, because of their looking into themselves and listening to what others say, but also seeing that they are part of something bigger. And I'm getting ready to end this, and I hope that I have not been babbling. I hope things have come forth the way they needed to, and I'll be doing some writing and doing some talk shows and doing some more things upon this topic, because again, it has been put inside of me to do so. And this is the foundation of our consciousness. Understanding the mathematics of our beings and our beingness, that we may be individual specks of light, but individual specks of light is what makes the sun, is what makes the stars in the heaven light up, so that you can see the planets. Stars are born. We use the word star to separate us in the English language. That person's a star. They're a rising star. Our language is so important because it gives us the basics. The basic understanding gives us the root. English is a bastard language. But when you have studied the roots, the mother and the father, from where this language came from, the Latin roots. You get the whole, and you can translate a word 1,000 times. But if you understand the root of those words, you got the picture. You get the picture. Okay, beloveds, that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. And I hope that you'll build upon this. And I hope that you will transform it and mold it and do whatever you need to do with it in order to process it and pass it along. I have no problem with this being turned into something else, and I don't need to be given the credit from it because it didn't come from me. It came through me. It didn't come from me. It came through me. So I don't take claim of any of the things that you hear me say. I don't take claim to them. One of the things I had started, and I keep going back and forth with this, is my humanness, my need to be a part of this division, is to want to start my own business, want to do this, want to do that, and it never works out. And I keep asking my mama, why? And it's because that would take my focus away from where it needs to be. The way I receive right now, I wouldn't be open. My mind would be business, about getting money, about helping people, about doing this, about doing in a set way, instead of being led and being open the way I need to be open. So I hope that answers a lot of your questions as well, because there are many like me who question themselves about the material aspects of things, providing for our families and so forth. We live here on this earth. We are a part of it. And there is a system in place that is supposed to take care of us. It does not. That system that is in place globally diminishes us as beings. It sets us apart. It is a system of division. That system that is globally responsible, that allows babies to wash up on shores, that allows our children to be sold as sex slaves, that allows mothers to have to work 40 hours a week away from her babies. It's a system of division. It's based upon division. It's based upon a microscopic, microcosmic mentality. It is not macrocosmic. It is not all including. It is not a village mind. It is not a community. It is not community minded. It's not meant for all. It's meant for a few. And that, I'm going to call it valley of death, that is in between the haves and the have-nots, is broadening. It has broadened. And they want to broaden it more and more and more, because they can never have enough. because they're not of that universal mind. They're void. They can't fill themselves with enough. They cannot get enough. They cannot take enough. They cannot have enough. And it's because there's no knowledge of self. There's no knowledge. They have to deny their connection to all in order to do the things that they do. They have to be better than and you have to be less than. They have to be right and you have to be wrong. My family is coming back. So all my grandbabies, all 5 of them, are getting ready to walk into this house. So namaste, beloveds. Think about the things that have come through me. Love you.